Hey Commanders, welcome back to another Elite Dangerous Flight School tutorial video. This is episode 11 and we're continuing to talk about power management. In the last video I talked about the distributing the pips and how to handle that in terms of balancing it between your systems, your engines, and your weapons. And I'll do a video probably down the road where I show a demonstration of that in the course of a battle. But at least it was a brief introduction to that. But today I want to talk about the actual management of your modules and the way that you can set those up in order to maximize the power that's available to you. You'll notice when you go into any kind of outfitting station and you start to buy things, and I'll probably go ahead and put a section in here in this video now about purchasing something. I'll have to go to a different system to do that, but I'll go ahead and stick that in right now. So we're over here at Wilkes Orbital because I wanted to talk a little bit about how you need to be careful of your power plant and your power usage. And we're going to discuss that by looking at the power plant. Now this is my ASP Explorer, which I have pretty heavily kitted out for an exploration run I'm going to do to the center of the galaxy and beyond once the Horizons update drops. So this ship's getting ready to go. And I've upgraded, as you can see, I've upgraded my power plant here in the ASP. So let's go in here and take a look at the power plant. So right now, currently I have this item right here, and it's red, and you can see right at the bottom there it says item is already fitted. This rating is an A4 class power plant. It fits, in this slot, and if you look over on the right hand side, and I'll try to zoom in on this for you, but the power usage, you can see with the hard points retracted, I'm at 13.23 megawatts. With the hard points deployed, I'm at 14.01 megawatts. And my fully available power is 15.60 megawatts. So I have some room to play with here. I've got, 1.6 or 1.59 megawatts of power to play with here. You can readily determine how purchasing a power plant is going to affect your power use, though, by seeing what happens when you highlight these power plants that you don't have equipped. So like if I go down to the A3 power plant, see me going, I'm actually moving up the list, but it's actually an A3 power plant because I have these listed in price ascending right now. I sorted them. If you go to the top here, you can sort on lots of different things: price, mass, power draw, things like that. Let's just do power draw ascending. So if I go through this, I can now see that in terms of my power draw, if I were to upgrade my power plant to this A5 power plant, as you can see, the number over there under available power turns blue. That means that's a better figure. I now have more power available than what I have currently equipped. However, it is going to affect my mass, which ultimately affects my jump range. Takes my jump range down to 29.03 light years, whereas right now I'm at 29.38 light years. Now that's not a huge change, but if I don't really need that extra, 4 megawatts of power or whatever it is, I may want to go ahead and stick with this A4 power plant. I may even want to think about dropping it down to an A3, because if you're going to explore with this ASP Explorer and you're going to try to make it to Sagittarius, every extra bit of light year you can squeeze is, over the course of a 20,000 light year jump is less, jumps that you have to do in order to get to your destination. With that in mind, I'm not sure what I'm going to do. I like this A4 power plant, and I am going to probably add a few more things, but you can see real quickly if I go down to an E2 power plant, wow, I've got big problems if I put that. Now I can go really far. My jump range is 29.56, but my available power is 6.40 megawatts, which means even if I don't deploy my hard points, I'm going to lose access to a lot of my modules. I'm not even sure if I can take off with it like this, and I'm not going to buy this to try. Okay, so that is really going to affect, you want to make sure that that's how you're going to determine whether or not you have enough power available to run whatever it is you're trying to add. And you also have to be careful when you're buying these hard points. If I were to go in here and try to add something to a medium hard point, which I'm not going to do on this ship because I'm not really looking to, turn this into a fighter. It's an explorer. But let's say I decide to buy this railgun and put it on this medium hardpoint. Now you can see my deployed power turns red because that means I'm going to be using more power, and I'm now at 15.64 megawatts. That puts me over my available power, and I'm going to need to do power management in order to be able to deploy those hard points. And that's what the next section of this video is going to talk about, how to manage that and do power management to make sure that you have the power you need to keep it going. So let's jump back into my Vulture and take a look at the power management. Okay, now you've seen how different power distributors and generators and things like that and power plants can affect, you know, your power output. I want to show you now how the modules work. As you can see here, I have all of my modules turned on, and if I look at the very bottom, right underneath the yellow bar, you'll see I have an output. 100% is my output, but my usage is at 103%. Now that presents a problem, and I'll show you why. If we come out of this menu, and now we suddenly decide that, hey, you know what, there's Tisha, and if she were, you know, wanted, you know, we might want to fire on her, although I'm in a no-fire zone, but I can chase her out of the no-fire zone and then fire on her. And so say, hey, I want to deploy my hard points here, so I'm going to tap X, and all of a sudden
exceeded.
I get this message that my power limit has exceeded and modules have been disabled.
Frameshift charge detected.
Certain things on my ship have suddenly decided to not work, and the reason for that is very simple. My power usage is at 103%, and if I come over to this modules, I can look very quickly and see which modules have been disabled. They will be red, and they will have this box with the strike through it telling me that, guess what, your frameshift drive is offline and your fuel scoop is offline. So buddy, don't try to fly anywhere, and certainly don't try to scoop any fuel, because you're not going to be able to until you put those hard points away. I'm overpower. You know, the ship only has so much power available, and I have decided to deploy so much stuff that I can no longer frameshift drive or fuel scoop. Alright, so let's put the hard points away. Once I put the hard points away, you'll see that both of those items begin to re-engage, and it takes the frameshift drive a little bit longer, but the fuel scoop's already back online, and now the frameshift drive is online. So when you're planning how to do this, you'll notice that each of these items at the top of the list can be assigned a priority. And that's exactly what I've done in terms of my modules, is I've given my priority over here to the things that I know that I may need when I deploy my hard points. For instance, if my hard points are deployed, I can't frameshift drive anyway, so I've put that at priority number 3. Also, if my hard points are deployed, I'm not going to be fuel scooping, because I'm more than likely in a resource extraction zone and I'm doing bounty hunting, so you know, there's no reason to have the fuel scoop active as well, so I've put the priority on the fuel scoop at 3 as well. I have prioritized a number of things with a number 1 and a number 2. One of those being weapons. You know, if I'm, you know, if my hard points are out, I want my weapons to be working. So I have my pulse laser, my power distributor, you know, cargo hatch. I'm going to show you something about cargo hatch in a minute. Sensors, you know, I'm going to need those if I'm bounty hunting, and life support, obviously, I want that available. And then my shaft launcher, you know, if I'm fighting, I need that to be available. So I've put those with a higher priority than the frameshift drive and the fuel scoop. Now, you're on certain things you're unable to prioritize. You know, for instance, my cockpit canopy and my power plant's got to be running, you know, for anything to work. So it's going to automatically have the number 1 priority. So there's nothing I can do to change the priority on that. Okay. So, at this point right now, you know, I'm kind of in a situation where as long as my hard points are out, there's no way that I can fuel scoop, and no way that I could chase Tisha if I wanted to with those hard points out. As soon as I put them away, it'll take a moment, but both of those things will come back online, and then I can chase her if I wanted to. However, there's a trick we can use, and I'm going to show you what that is, in order to maximize our output and to hopefully be able to keep some of our modules online in case we want to keep those online. For me, one of the things that I disable sometimes is I'll come through and I'll actually disable the cargo hatch at all times. I have no cargo capacity on this Vulture. It's strictly kitted out for bounty hunting, and that's all. So what I'll do is I'll come over to the cargo hatch, and I will actually hit A and inactivate that by hitting A again. Now you'll see that that box to the left of cargo is no longer colored in, which means the cargo hatch is no longer drawing power, and therefore you'll see my usage now, output at 100%, but my usage is now 99%. That means now when I deploy my hard points, guess what? My frame shift drive and my fuel scoop are still active. So I don't have to wait for the frame shift drive to recharge if I need to get the heck out of Dodge and jump into Super Cruise because some anaconda has finally got the better of me and I need to get out of there. I need to get out of there. I want that frame shift drive working. So I will actually inactivate the cargo hatch to make sure that happens. Now you got to be careful with what you inactivate. Obviously there are certain things that you can't inactivate, and there are certain things if you inactivate them it's going to cause you a problem. But for me, the cargo hatch is one way that I can get my power distribution underneath that 100% level so that everything stays hunky-dory when I pull those hard points out. You maybe want to play around with that and learn how it works. Try out different settings, try out different priorities, and try to come to an understanding of what it is you need to have available at what times. Personally, I could also go ahead and activate the fuel scoop as well, and now that gets me down to a power usage of 97%, and that could possibly allow me to add another weapon or another shaft launcher or another shield cell bank or something like that. But you have to be very careful that you don't get to the point where every time you pull out your hard points it's inactivating some of the most important modules you need, one of those being your frame shift drive, in order to get away if somebody's got the best of you. Okay, alright, so that's a tutorial about modules. I hope you enjoyed that. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them down below and I'll try to get back to you as quick as I can. Otherwise, remember, commanders, fly safe.